Sonic Boom Episode 5, Guilt Tripping. We start out seeing the tropical island from far away, and then Sonic and Tails use hoverboards that only work over some grind rails to race each other competitively. That is a more realistic way of portraying hoverboards. I think that's how the prototype of them functions in real life. Eventually, Sonic crashes and bounces around, and somehow Tails thinks he was cool and praises him. That kind of makes up for him wanting to compete with Sonic out of nowhere. But this really is Boom Sonic, because normally Sonic grinding on rails is what he does best. You'd think Tails would crash, but on the other hand, it's nice to throw Tails a bone and let him be the cool one. They find a poor village being threatened by bandits, and Sonic ties them up with a nearby vine and they get flung away. Logically, they die from the landing instead of coming back. The woman says that she can't trouble Tails by picking up stuff on the ground, even though her back hurts. And somehow, after the guy says that it'll be fine, Tails doesn't insist on picking up the stuff from the ground to be a decent person. This is a hero, isn't he? And the villagers continue to look suspicious by saying they'd rather watch Sonic and Tails eat while they're starving. Sonic says he feels terrible and makes an excuse to leave. And then he runs out of there at Sonic speed in 2 seconds and ends the plot. No, that makes sense. Sonic and Tails are somehow manipulated into sleeping with the only blankets in the village. Why do these guys have self-destructive behavior? This wouldn't happen for a whole village. Somehow, 3 of the villagers are waiting for them out in the night instead of sleeping. A stupid beaver comes out of nowhere to talk about formal grammar and break the fourth wall when we were immersed in the story. It's not like this is a show all about fourth wall breaking like Dora the Explorer. It's so rare that when it does happen, it's especially obnoxious. Even Archie Sonic was way worse with the fourth wall breaking when it did happen, so you kinda got used to it. And they try to guilt trip them into not leaving because they're scared of the bandits coming back. Oh, that's why! Good, there's an explanation. Tails says that they need to create a defense system for the village so they can actually leave. Good, he thought of that common sense solution. At least that makes them more sympathetic than Jack and his thugs in Sandblast City. They all act nervous around the heroes instead of being a jerk. Somehow, the trap the villagers, every single one of them. I guess they did that on purpose. I guess they want the heroes to stay in their city that badly. Again, they're much more sympathetic than Jack and his thugs with their plan. I mean, Jack and his thugs already had a force field for their city, so why on earth did they think they needed Sonic? They try to guilt trip the heroes into freeing them from the upside down hanging vines, and one of them starts stitching a friendship quilt of Sonic, somehow not assuming that he'll just be creeped out from it. Then the heroes try to out-guilt trip a guy, saying that they have plants waiting for them at home, and dramatic music keeps playing between every guilt trip that just drags things out. But at least tries to underline how smart the heroes are being. Finally, the guy lets them leave, but when Sonic gets home, he sees that the village broke into his house illegally because they want Sonic to keep protecting them. One of them says they opened all his mail, and one of them uncanned all his food. And then Sonic gets a message from Eggman that casually says he's planning to blow up the dam. He keeps leaving him messages on the answering machine. And Eggman complains that it was all a trick to ambush him, and he waited a day for him to show up. I love this. Then Eggman amusingly ambushes Sonic with a bunch of badniks for Sonic to beat up. Why is it always the same 2 types of badnik? Every other continuity had a much larger variety than this. There's no excuse for this whatsoever. Also, Tails fights them with a stick while some of the civilians try to keep him from fighting. Another civilian intentionally walks in the way, saying he totally didn't mean to get in their way. This is stupid. None of this would happen. There's no way that these people would act like this. Then Sonic proves he can use the hoverboard above something other than the grind rails, as he beats the badniks with it. So how and why did he always stay over the rails? Then Sonic calls the Go-Go-Buzz his new teammates, saying that they wouldn't have won without them, just to manipulate Eggman into trying to get the villagers to switch sides. Seriously, Go-Go-Buzz? I wish I knew the etymology of that name. Can't they just call themselves the Guilt Trippers? The villagers say that they do whatever the master wants, just to end the story with Eggman being annoyed with their guilt tripping. So, I guess that's the explanation for why he doesn't just use them as a slave army for the rest of the series. These guys sure are lucky that this Robotnik is too stupid to think to put tiny bombs in them that will blow up if they don't behave, so that he can have a slave army just fine without having to rely on the stupid illogicalness of robotization or putting them in badniks. Like, he doesn't even need to have either of those concepts to have a slave army, but somehow this Robotnik will never do that. That's really forced. They'll do anything to keep him from being competent and in the position he's supposed to be in. That applies to the games too. Why doesn't Eggman have an army of people with cyborg stuff with bombs in them, logically? This story was about a tribe of guilt-tripping people called the Gagabas, who try to keep Sonic and Tails in their village to protect them, acting nervous and manipulating and lying the entire time. Once again, the plot of Sonic Boom episode is forced. They wouldn't act this way. Since it benefits them, though, I can't see why this became a part of their culture, except when it was actively self-destructive against them, where Sonic and Tails were the only ones with the blankets. I guess their culture doesn't plan for the idea that people wouldn't be affected by their guilt, and would actually ignore them and take advantage of them anyways. Aren't Sonic and Tails supposed to be the good guys? Why did they do this to them and have the only blankets? It's great that they did this kind of plot differently than Sandblast City, since it was already done there. Even though the guilt tripping was annoying, they were still more sympathetic. I have to commend this story as well on being creative, because I thought for sure that their village would get attacked by bandits again. Maybe even the same ones. But instead, we never see the bandits again, so I'm left to presume they died when they hit the ground. Well, at least that's more realistic. At least it makes more sense that way. It's not as predictable as the same bandits actually being used again in the story, instead of wasted for just one plot. It was nice to have villains other than Eggman for a change. Then Sonic and Tails look really smart by using the guilt tripping against them, not to mention building a security system for their village, although it's much more low-tech than I thought it would be. I was picturing high walls with electrical wire around them and an alarm system. It's Tails who's building it. There's no excuse for it being low-tech. They also look smart by tricking Eggman to enslaving the village to get rid of them. And it's not that evil because Eggman obviously got sick of them for the same reasons they did. It'd be nice if Sonic said to us that he knew Eggman would get sick of them, instead of just looking like he has no problem with Eggman enslaving them. It'd be nice if the Sonic characters could be smart a lot more often, instead of idiots to force the plot or force a bad joke. It's obvious to me who didn't write this plot. Oh, and I love the joke where Eggman kept leaving messages at Sonic's house that eventually complained that he wasn't really going to blow up the dam, and Sonic never showed up to his ambush. I didn't laugh, as usual with the show, but it made sense. And it also implied he had a soft side because he didn't actually blow up the dam. It was just a cry for attention. Eggman blew up a dam in AOSTH just fine. Good thing Eggman doesn't constantly waste Sonic's time with messages that don't involve challenges to fight him, and simply bother and annoy him instead, because that's what would really happen if your sworn enemy had your phone number. Seriously, how did he get access to Sonic's phone number? Well, I guess because Sonic's a celebrity, but even then, that'd be all the more reason not to put your phone number in a phone book, or put it on the internet, or tell everyone about it. I guess he tortured someone who knew Sonic's phone number, but even then, you think Sonic would change his phone number. This joke would work better, obviously, if Eggman was just using messages like how Sonic X did it, where he sent a literal TV box to him with the message. Because how would Eggman have his phone number? But if you changed it to that, that joke could work in any continuity. Because, of course, Eggman would make a habit out of lying to get Sonic to go somewhere, and then it's a trick, and he ambushes him. But Sonic might actually catch on, or be too busy to go the trap. So I love that reality ensued on Eggman there. Episode 5-2. Dude, where's my Eggman? Another wacky title. We start out with Orbot and Cubot lying on the floor, and Orbot asks what happened to them last night because they're dizzy. Now I'm thinking of them actually getting drunk from a party last night. And Cubot hopes that whatever they did last night didn't involve a heavy meal they somehow ate. So they're like scratching grounder and they can actually eat? Orbot reveals that their memory of yesterday was erased. I love the intriguing mystery it starts out with. So why can't a lot more episodes of the show be like that? There was this, there was the Evil Cookies episode. It really works for making the plot engaging. Since they don't know where Eggman is, Cubot is happy about the idea of getting to do whatever they want. And since Cubot amusingly can't kick over the garbage can because he doesn't have feet, Orbot has to push it over. That really made me smile. It took me a while to notice that he didn't do it not because it go against his programming, but because he doesn't have feet. They approach the heroes to learn what happened yesterday, and Knuckles tells them a biased retelling of what happened yesterday, where Sonic is a coward, Eggman is terrified, and Knuckles jumps into the air and flies and sends fire at Eggman, burning his parasol and being super badass. I wish this was normal in the show. It just makes me miss Archie. I mean, in Sonic Battle, Knuckles did have kind of fire powers, so why can't he send fire at Eggman normally? Why does it have to not be the norm? Can being this competent in a fight? I don't buy that this would just be an imagined spot of his, like this being this competent at fighting. Knuckles doesn't fly by jumping, pausing, and jumping again though. So if this was what fans were talking about when they said the show referenced that glitch in Rise of Lyric where you jump and pause and jump again, then they were just seeing what they wanted to see. Because this is way more fun to watch and nothing like that glitch. And I think you're giving the writers too much credit to assume that they know about Rise of Lyric the game that much at all, let alone know that there's this glitch in it. This is the same crew that only bothers to have 2 types of badniks in it, when it couldn't be that hard to make more badnik varieties. It's like they only know about Motobugs and Buzz Bombers. I would be impressed if they actually did know about that glitch. But this is not a proper representation of the glitch that was supposed to be a reference. I like this imagined spot. It's over the top without being stupid and confusing, which is the perfect kind of lighthearted for this franchise. I still didn't laugh though. Then realistically, a villager says Orbot and Cubot have a lot of nerve coming here, and Eggman tried to sell someone a burned parasol. The villager says that after he left, he called the police. Obviously, it's completely illogical that Eggman would try to sell someone such obvious damaged goods. I mean, if he's trying to make money, why doesn't he just threaten him and mug him? It's still unbelievably stupid of him. Orbot asks a cop where Eggman is, somehow not just telling the cop what his name is. And the cop decides to lie that he's keeping Eggman in jail, so Orbot decides to raise money for Eggman's bail, which they would somehow offer. They try to play music in front of a crowd with instruments they somehow have. Geez, at least Sonic Underground justified how the heroes had their instruments. And Cubot's voice sucks, so Tails only donates reluctantly. It was really nice of him to donate for that though. Like, he's such a nice person. But somehow they decide to give up anyways, and they try to get money from Amy by lying that they're going to donate it to charity. Although I guess from their perspective, it is charity, just for Eggman. Why would she ever trust them? She says that she was planning on donating to a charity that gives baby penguin sweaters. That's such a minor good deed for a charity to dedicate itself to. I don't really buy that very well at all. And the robots start crying and telling her to keep the money, being interesting enough to have a conscience, somehow. I love this character moment for them. Then Orbot and Cubot meet someone shady looking after deciding not to sell the Eggmobile for some reason. If it's against the programming, how did they decide to do it in the first place? We see someone with a nice red suit looking around the Eggmobile, and he accuses them of trying to con him before offering to take them for a test drive. Then he flies off with their Eggmobile. That is smart of him to do since he really wanted the Eggmobile, and Eggman's evil, so he deserves this. I guess the Eggmobile must be really user-friendly to pilot, since he instantly knows how to drive the Eggmobile. Or maybe he's driven one of them before. Then after the robots wait around for a long time, an explosion breaks a wall apart. A walrus breaks out of prison, and Cubot and Orbot run away with them. I don't think that a prison would be in the middle of a residential area in a village. It'd be way more isolated than that. But I love that there's a walrus that's not Rotor. Then we learn in a flashback that Eggman wanted to break into a helium factory, and the walrus helped him because he's great at breaking and entering. Oh, a walrus looks like a tough guy, so a walrus person would look like a tough guy, so it really works to have this walrus be a criminal. Somehow Eggman doesn't know from the helium raising the pitch of their voices that it's helium right away. Eggman wouldn't flee, he'd stay with his ray gun and fight. Orbot and Cubot find Eggman's ray gun in the helium factory, and his mustache. There's no way that all of this wouldn't have been found and gotten rid of by cops after the factory was found to be broken into. All of that would be evidence. And Eggman took off from the factory, presumably because people knew he was there and wanted to go bother him. They go back home, find that go figure Eggman's alive, and Cubot hugs him. Eggman says he had gone for a breakfast burrito, and naturally had to do it himself because his only servant robots were powered down. And Orbot says that they traced his footsteps all over town until they found his mustache at the helium warehouse. But he still got his mustache. Eggman explains that the fake mustache is just part of the pin the mustache on the Eggman game he wasted time making for his mere robots. Aw, he does care. Huh? Eggman reveals that he made Orbot and Cubot do all the work to make a surprise party for themselves. Because Orbot said he wanted to boost morale, and erase their memory so it would still be a surprise, and thus work as a gift for them. Orbot is naturally touched that he did that for them. But then Eggman's an idiot, and so is the writer, because he erases their memories to make them pass out, which does nothing but waste his time even more. That they do get to experience the surprise party. Wouldn't it be nicer to just see them experience the surprise party? Wouldn't it be sweet to see them get rewarded for their time as Eggman's servants? It was sweet of Eggman to set all this up for them, in his own way, but we don't even get to see it, so it kind of works, but it doesn't, and it's out of character for him to begin with. But it is good to have Eggman occasionally show that he cares about his slave robots, while usually they fear him and he abuses them to show us that he's still the threatening Robotnik we know. It's better that we occasionally see that he cares about them than us never seeing that at all, and then we just wonder why they don't leave him. Like, I love that he said they were family. This was an interesting episode. I was psyched that Orbot and Cubot got an episode to themselves. It was interesting seeing them on their own, and they go all over town to find Eggman. I've always been happy that they were in the show, because ever since I found out about Orbot and Cubot from Colors, I thought they were characters with a lot of story potential. I also found it creative that Eggman threw them a surprise party to boost morale using them, and broke into a helium factory instead of just trying to beat Sonic all the time. And it was good that someone stole an Eggmobile, I guess. I never bought for a second that Eggman disintegrated himself by accident somehow, because this show doesn't have the guts to make that happen. Not even temporarily before it gets undone with time travel, or turn out to all just be a dream. It doesn't even have the guts to make it just a parallel universe. But logically, if Eggman's so incompetent in the show, this would be how he'd meet his end. This would be inevitable.